Good afternoon, and thank you for being with us today. It was 3 months ago that tragedy struck the Humboldt Broncos hockey team, the community of Humboldt, and many communities across our province and country. Our thoughts continue to be with those who have lost loved ones, those who were injured, and with everyone who is recovering from this tragedy. I know it's been difficult for many to await the outcome of this police investigation. The time it took to do this work, this important work, was necessary. Today, at approximately 10 a.m., our major crime investigators arrested the driver of the semi-trailer unit, Jaskarit Sidhu, a 29-year-old male from Calgary, Alberta. Mr. Sidhu was arrested without incident at his Calgary residence and currently faces the following charges: 16 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death, 13 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily injury. Mr. Sidhu has been remanded into RCMP custody and will make his first appearance in Saskatchewan Provincial Court next week. Details of this court appearance have not been finalized and will be provided as soon as that information is available. We know that the interest in this investigation is significant, which is why we are making this public announcement. However, we must protect the integrity of the evidence gathered and respect the judicial process, as this matter is now before the courts. Please keep this in mind as I turn it over to Superintendent Derek Williams, the officer in charge of our major crimes unit, and the officer overseeing this investigation. Superintendent Williams will provide the information we are able to share at this time.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. 16 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death and 13 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily harm are serious criminal code charges. In order to lay these charges, we required evidence that a motor vehicle was being operated in a manner that is dangerous to the public. Now that the charges are laid, we move to the next stage in the process. Our investigators will continue to liaise with the Crown Prosecution Office as we have done so over the past 3 months. Our core team of 20 investigators has been supplemented by an additional 100 investigators as required, and they have assisted in this investigation through its entirety. The expertise of investigators from our forensic collision reconstruction team, and major crime unit have been critical as we've analyzed and collected evidence. In addition to the collision reenactment we did in April, we've conducted over 60 interviews, taken over 6,000 photographs, analyzed all of the documentation available to us, including the driver logbook. We've also used 3D technology to capture evidence through unmanned aerial vehicles. What we can say about the evidence that we gathered is limited, as this matter is before the courts. But I can tell you the following. We've looked at every aspect of the collision, including the speed of the vehicles, point of impact, position of the vehicles, impairment, road and weather conditions, and witness evidence. Every piece of information was carefully examined. Our investigators were thorough in their systematic analysis of this evidence. I can further tell you that this morning, our investigators met with the families to inform them of the outcome of this investigation. Finally, we want to acknowledge the assistance that we have received from our partners at Transport Canada, the Provincial Coroner's Office, and Saskatchewan Government Insurance. Now, as we said, I'm limited to what I can say because a lot of this information is going to be before the courts. But I can take some questions now.
I ask the reporters, please step up to the mic, identify yourself, who you're with, and ask your question, and you'll have a chance to reply.
Sarah Mills, CJME and CKOM. I think the question for most of the public in Saskatchewan and Canada has been about the magnitude of this investigation and why it's taken 3 months. Can you explain the work, go further into detail of the work, perhaps manpower, all that kind of thing to get you to this point today, please?
Yes, thank you. We can appreciate that this is a mass casualty event. There was a number of aspects of the collision that we had to investigate. And it takes time to gather all those evidence and facts. And in addition, we have to collect expert reports. So that process took some time. We can appreciate that the public wanted an answer sooner, but we did have to work through our investigative process to gather that information.
And would you know, Superintendent, if this is the biggest case in Canada of dangerous driving causing death, of these charges with this number of the 16 and the 13 that you know of, or at least in Saskatchewan?
Well, this is a tragic event, first and foremost, for all the victims and families. So in comparison to other events in Canada, it's difficult to say. This event stands on its own.
David Bowl, 620 CKRM, and approximately how long did it take you to get certain piece of evidence, and which was, I guess, the toughest for you folks to narrow in on?
Well, certainly we relied on expertise for the traffic collision reconstruction. That did take a fair amount of time. We received that information late last week, which we then shared with the Crown Office.
And when did the decision officially lay charges, and when did you were able to identify the driver in this case?
We swore the information for these charges yesterday.
Sarah Comedina, Global News. Can you give us any more details on what may have caused this crash or anything along those lines?
Well, as we know from our last media conference on April 19th, we know that the bus was driving northbound on the highway and the semi-truck was westbound. They did meet in the intersection and a collision occurred. Now the factors leading up to that is, again, evidence and facts that are going to be before the court. And anything around the driver himself, again, all that material will be before the court.
Okay. Was the trucking company breaking any laws?
Again, our investigation was focused on the driver in this case, and that's who we've charged.
And can you confirm how big this investigation was with how many officers were involved?
Well, it's a core team of 20 investigators, and at various times during the past 3 months, we had over 100 investigators as we needed that moved in and out of the investigation. We can also appreciate there was a large number of first responders at the initial incident on April the 6th.
And what are you doing with the evidence in question, like the big pieces of equipment? Where are you storing it? What are you doing with that right now?
Yeah, we have the semi-truck and trailer and the bus, but I won't go into details about where it's stored. That's before the court again.
Adam Hunter, CBC. Can you explain the difference between dangerous driving and driving without due care and attention? What would be the difference between those two charges?
Well, the biggest difference is the criminal code charge for dangerous driving. Drive without due care and attention is a traffic offense.
I know you said you can't reveal some of the things, but are speed, distracted driving, any of those things considered included into dangerous driving?
There's a number of elements that make up the offense of dangerous driving, including the marked departure from the standard of care expected from a driver, in this case a commercial truck driver.
Dave Fraser, Leader Post. There was a bluff of trees at that intersection. What, if any, role did those trees play in your investigation and the result of charges?
Again, any of the environmental conditions are facts and evidence that we'll present before the court.
Is Sadu in custody right now?
Mr. Sadu is in RCMP custody currently, yes.
Has he had his passport seized?
Again, anything around that will wait till his first court appearance here next week in Saskatchewan. That's something that the Crown Prosecutor will manage.
I understand that you're sort of constrained in what you can say about the specifics of the charges, but as you noted there, the charges that are later a significant departure from the norm or have to involve a significant departure from the norm. You had mentioned speed, impairment, and a number of other factors that you looked at. Can you comment at all as to which of those were contributing factors in your decision to lay these charges?
I think he's spoken to the case, and we can't provide specifics of the investigation itself. That will be before the courts.
Number one, I'm sorry, it's an easy one, but we still don't have the name apart from you saying it. If you have the details of the age and the name to spell. And then secondly, I'm just trying to give the public an idea of, I think many people have run through a stop sign before and won't have faced a charge like this, obviously given the circumstances and the death and injuries, but what does the driver do and face because of these charges? I'm just trying to get a sense beyond driving without due care and attention, speeding, distracted driving. What does a driver have to do to get so far as these charges with their driving?
I'm sorry, again, we can't speak to the specifics of the case. That is before the courts.
I'm not asking specifics of a case. I'm trying to give the public a sense of what does it mean to face these.
All right, there you have an RCMP press conference in Saskatchewan. We are learning a 29-year-old Calgary man is facing a number of charges and is in police custody right now. Jaskirat Sadu, 29 years old, of Calgary. He was a truck driver involved in this crash with the Humboldt Broncos bus 3 months ago. Now we're learning he's facing a number of charges, 16 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death and 13 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily harm. As you heard from our CMP there, this was an extensive investigation lasting 3 months. They conducted more than 60 interviews and used a lot of new technology in order to gather evidence. They say they looked at every aspect of the crash, including speed, the point of impact, possible impairment, road conditions, and witness accounts.